What's up YouTube? Capital G here. Yes, I know I'm late to the party. Last YouTuber to show up, but I am going to be talking about the OCG October Forbidden and Limited list. This goes into effect October 1st, and looks like Konami had a master plan to release our ban list in the TCG and the OCG ban list basically in the same weekend. I have seen the list, and Konami doing some crazy things in the OCG. Now, it's interesting. Apparently, they announced their ban list in an unlisted YouTube video, and OCG players are not happy about this. You can tell by the like to dislike ratio. 85 likes, 84 dislikes. I have no idea why Konami decided to do this other than just, the cosplayers and stuff like that. To be honest, they could have just they could have easily just posted this in the V-Jump, or they could have just posted it on their website like they've been doing for, decades, but I don't think fans like the way that they announced the ban list. Anyways, let's look at the Forbidden cards. There are two of them, and one of them was kind of surprising. The other one definitely not. So Red Eyes Dark Dragoon and S0 Utopic Zexal. This card is just like S0 was eventually going to get banned. Like we have manipulated making this card so many ways, and then obviously the final straw was the new Down 1000 cards, and the fact that you can just activate a single copy of Numeron Gate and basically get this card for free if your opponent doesn't have an answer. And I know people are saying, well, there's a lot of answers and permanents, Forbidden Chalice, just one Forbidden Drop, etc., etc. You can even use triple, talents or whatever. But the thing is, if you don't have an answer, you're basically not going to be playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Maybe if you have a control deck, you can, maybe wait it out a turn or so. But if you're playing combo, you're probably just going to lose the game. I feel like eventually it was just going to happen. Like the Down 1000 cards just made one card S0. So this is not surprising in my opinion. And then we have Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. I am honestly surprised, and I'm not saying that this card didn't deserve it based on its merits, because I actually think this is one of the craziest boss monsters Konami has ever created. I think we all realized the second that this card was revealed, it is way too powerful. I mean, what does Dark Dragoon not, like, what does Dragoon not have? Like, it has negation, it has targeting immunity, destruction immunity, it has free removal, and it has burn damage. Like, that's 5 effects built into one single package. And, Konami tried dancing around it. They tried hitting Verde Anaconda. They tried hitting Red Eyes Fusion. They even limited this thing. They limited 3 cards basically because of this. That didn't stop players from using it. And when it was at 3, and, as soon as it came out, the entire OCG metagame revolved around this one card. Trickstar, Guru. Basically, if you had a Yu-Gi-Oh deck, you just played this card. Like, it wasn't even a question. Like, you just played the card because it was just so ridiculously good. I'm honestly glad that this card is out of the game. I didn't think they'd do it, but this is one of the cards that just should have never been created. This is like Firewall Dragon level, where Konami clearly just didn't R&D test this thing, because they just added too much to it. Like, and with Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, for it to have 5, like, it probably didn't need 2 of those effects. Like, come on, bro. It didn't need the negation and the burn damage and all that other stuff. Now, when it comes to limited status, we've got 1 for 1, or as I like to call it, 1 for 1, and Mech Knight Girsu Orcus. This is another one that was like a head-scratching card. I don't really get why they made this card. I know you want to continue on with the dual terminal, with the World Legacy storyline, but to me, it just, like, we know Orcus is such a strong deck, especially for power, and you've had to hit multiple cards in the deck. We banned Harp Horror here. Why would you make a card that basically puts them near what they were? Like, if you acknowledge Orcus is like too powerful with the cards that you gave it, why would you give it a card that basically is just a 1-card Orcus combo? Like, this replaces Armageddon Knight and Grepher or whatever the heck you wanted to ever run in Orcus, a card that does everything that they could possibly need, and even can be played in decks like Generators and stuff like that. Like, this card was just way too strong of a normal summon, and if you resolved it, you were probably way ahead. 1 for 1, is this at 1 in the TCG? I feel like it might be at 2, but I mean, it's been at 1 for forever. Generally, level 1s are very strong in Yu-Gi-Oh! I just kind of feel like 1 for 1 it should be at 1 for a very long time because Konami's not going to stop releasing, good level 1 monsters. These are very good hits in my opinion. This card, probably they should have like R&D tested it. Just didn't make a lot of sense in my opinion. Now for the level 2s, or excuse me, the semi-limits. Oh, Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave. Nadir's Servant. Shout outs to you, Farfa. And Memories of Hope. Okay, so this tells me right here. So Memories of Hope is the card where I think you have to have 4 XC materials to act, or 4 XC monsters to activate this card. But I do know that you draw like 3 cards, if I'm not mistaken. It's the draw card that you use with the Don 1000 cards. You basically play this with like the new Numeron support. You resolve it. You get your 4 XC monsters on field, your 4 Don 1000 XCs, and then you get to draw a bunch of cards. Hitting this card to 2, I don't know, it just seems kind of random. I guess you're saying you're just not going to hit like Numeron Gate. You're just not going to hit the Don 1000 cards, I guess. I feel like, why would you semi-limit a draw card? I mean, just like if you really want to hit the consistency, like usually you limit it. Putting it at 2 doesn't really, to me, it doesn't really deter players from playing a card. Like if they're gonna play it, if it's a draw 3, like they're probably still gonna play 2 copies. Okay, you want to hit Dogmatica, that's perfectly understandable. This card is absolutely insane. It's a search card, obviously they're going to play it, and if Dogmatica is that good, it's understandable. Called by the Grave. Look man, I know I'm the only person on this island. People said, Called by the Grave getting hit is just to sell X card, or it's just to push this. Guys, OCG has all these cards. They're still hitting Called by the Grave. I'm going to say the same thing that I just said a couple of days ago, the same thing that I said in 2018. I feel like Called by the Grave is going to work itself to limited status. I think Blade was like the only YouTuber that I saw actually talk about this. Yeah, at some point, you just have too many ways of stopping hand traps. Now, obviously, you got to look at hand traps a little differently because in the OCG, they have the king of all hand traps, which, of course, is Max C. And we don't have that in the TCG. I just feel like at some point, you give combo decks too many ways to just play around hand traps. If you have Magical Midfield Breaker at 3 and Called by the Grave at 3 and Triple Talents at 3 and Cross Out Designator at 3, it's like, who cares if you open up with double hand traps if I can just stop all of them and still wombo combo and get 10 negates? Like, I feel like Konami maybe made too many ways of circumventing hand traps, and maybe they have realized that. So that's the reason why I think you see Called by the Grave getting hit, because Called by the Grave is one of the more popular cards. And in the OCG, they play more Called by the Grave because Called by the Grave stops Max C. We're playing a little more, hand traps like Gamma and the Beru, things that are not stopped by Called by the Grave. All right, finally, to the unlimits. All right, so looks like we got Personal Spoofy, Necroface, Machiura the Destructor, White Dragon, Wyvern Buster, or is it Corlat Serpent? I'm gonna go with Wyvern Buster. And then we have Red Eyes Fusion. Okay, so no need for Red Eyes Fusion. It is Wyvern Buster, nice. I guess Black Dragon is Color Serpent. No need for Red Eyes Fusion, I would say, to ever go back to limited status unless Konami makes another ridiculous Red Eyes card. This card only got hit because of Dark Dragoon, which should have never been created. Personal Spoofing, I believe, was at 2. Why? Altergeist, not even that good. Like, come on. I actually played Altergeist last night on stream. That deck can't even kill Dragoon. If your opponent summons it, you just lose, basically. Necroface, okay. Necroface has always been kind of a troll card, in my opinion. Even though it's at 3, like, I have no problem with this card being at 1. Like, it can be at 1 because the decks that play this are honestly just kind of degenerate decks, to be honest. They're decks that just play things like they're just like banished decks, and they try to trigger like 2 to 3 Necrofaces sometimes in a turn with Gold Sarcophagus, or God, I can't think of the card where when you take like 3,000 damage, both players banish like all the monsters from their decks. You guys know what I mean. Machiura really hasn't done anything, and they did ban Guard Dragon LP. Like, there are really no Guard Dragons in the OCG. We still have them, so I would probably want this card to stay at 1 in the TCG. But with Guard Dragons out, or if you have more Guard Dragons than Pisty, you shouldn't have multiple Wyvern Busters. But I think that both baby Chaos Dragons are at 3 and the OCG. And to be honest, I actually feel like it's only a matter of time before Konami releases some new Broken Dragon stuff, because that's just how Yu-Gi-Oh works. If it ain't Guard Dragons, it'll be Dragon Rulers, and whatever the next version of those Broken Dragons are, pretty sure this card might get exploited. But overall, I think this is a good list. Like, especially these limits, right? Or especially these bans and these limits. These are very impactful. Like, get this card out of the game, dude. Like, you want to talk about a card that will warp your entire metagame? Red Eyes Dart Dragoon is it. And if you're not going to hit Numeron Gate, you're not going to hit the Don 1000 cards, I guess hitting these or hitting S0 is like the next best thing. But whatever you guys think, let me know in the comment section below. How much of this do you think will eventually translate to the TCG? Konami is going to want to milk more money out of Dart Dragoon. They're not going to hit in the TCG yet, so we probably got to deal with this card at least for 6 months, maybe 9 months.